class of the Chapter 3, Presentation, Analysis, and Interpretation of Data. Congratulations, STEM 1. Yes, we are officially halfway through with the discussion. Plus, okay, hopefully sa paper kahit hindi pa kayo nakapag-collect ng data, di ba? So, everyone, especially the leaders, okay, and members, kung may access kayo sa instrument ninyo, puntahan nyo mga anak. Because class, for you to be able to write the chapter 3, it must be based on your instrument. Wala akong maririnig na si Adrian ay magsasabi ng, Ma'am, bakit po kay Leticia 20 tables po yung meron sa kanila? Yung pong kay Lauren, 15 lang po. Yung sa amin, ma'am, 12 lang. Wait, class, it depends on the structure, on the content of your instrument. So, wala tayong pag-compare and contrast dito. Again, class, I repeat, the chapter 3 is being written based on what kind of instrument you have. Okay? Sana klaro tayo on this part, class. Class, no? Before dealing with the chapter 3, we need to face the following first. Okay? Ito yung mga behind the scenes, class. Number 1, adopting, or developing an instrument. Distribution, administering instrument for the respondents. And then collection of data. And then the intervention of your statistician for you to have your treated data. Tama? And then class, once you are done with this 4, you are now ready to deal with your chapter 3. And then class, let us assume, no? Imagine natin na we're done. At i-claim na talaga natin na tapos kayo. Okay ba? Kasi ma'am, wala naman po kaming choice kung hindi matapos to. Panindigan na natin. So class, let's deal first in differentiating presentation, analysis, and interpretation. Baka kasi akala ng iba, parehas lang naman, ma'am. Diba? Baka pagtungtong nyo ng college class, tanongin kayo ng prof ninyo, what do you mean by analyzing the data and providing interpretation? Nakabila na kayong atakihin sa puso kasi nakalimutan nyo. So, madali lang naman, class, to provide the differences of the 3. Class, when we say presentation, we are dealing with the tables or your graphs. Pero class, paper-wise, ang pinapagamit ko sa estudyante ko are tables. Okay? Tables talaga. Ma'am, bakit ayaw nyo magpa-graph? Ang ganda po kaya sa paper nun. Kasi ang technique ko naman, class, is alam na alam ko ng mga naging estudyante ko, pinapagamit ko yung graphs kapag gagawa na ng PowerPoint presentation. Kasi ayoko yung kung ano yung nasa paper, yun na mismo yung nasa table, ay nasa PowerPoint presentation. So that is my practice. No? That is also my suggestion to you, class. Now, paper-wise, you'll be using the tables and then convert the tables, okay, into graph once you are tawag dito, binubuo, ginagawa na yung PowerPoint presentation. Diba? Same content, same result ng data, but magkaiba in terms of presentation. Diba? Kung ako yung panel at nakita ko yun, mabibilib ako sa student researchers. And then class, when we say analysis, it is the written interpretation of your tables. Okay, describe mo lang what's with the tables. Okay? And then class, interpretation, ito na. Akala ng lahat, no? Si Ma'am Tang, magpakahirap kami maghanap ng RL and RS. Wala naman pala, hindi din pala magagamit. No! Malaki ang role, class, of your RL and RS on your chapter 2 in writing the interpretation, okay, of your tables. Because class, on the interpretation part, you need to go back. Okay, you need to go back, okay, for you to be able to write the interpretation of your study. Okay? So, class, so baka mamaya hindi kayo makarelate, hindi namin naiintindihan ang sasabi ni Ma'am Tang. So, later class, Ma'am Tang will provide examples on this. Okay? Alright. So, let's have first class, okay, the anatomy of such table. Palagi na to class. Total package na to. Okay? Mawala lang yung isa dito, automatically, mali na yung ginagawa ninyo. Okay? Laging magkakasama itong tatlo class. The table number, the table title, plus the data. Columns and rows sa pinag-uusapan class when you say data. Okay? Alright. So, ma'am ka, bakit kailangan ng table number plus the table title? Class kasi, upon accomplishing the table of contents, magkaiba kasi yung pages ng for tables and for the figures. By the way, class, when we say figure 1, figure 2, figure 3, ito yung mga graph or mga pictures na ilalagay sa paper. Okay, when we say tables, definitely, this one is an example of table. Okay ba? And then class, hindi naman pwedeng ilalagay lang natin dun sa table of contents, table 1, table 2, table 3. You need to have the, what you call this, the title, para easy to navigate. Halimbawa, gusto lang makita ng panelists ninyo, distribution of respondents according to section. So, madali pakikita nila yun sa table of contents. Okay? Madali para mahanap sa paper ninyo. Okay? Alright. So, class, no, wag kayo magkapasa kay Ma'am Cam ng paper ninyo ng chapter 3 na walang table number yan or table title. Okay? Alright. So, we can now proceed on how to have, okay, a presentation, analysis, and interpretation if your data is in ordinal form. Anak ha? Kaya, di ba, during the discussion natin, dinisclose natin way back before the ordinal, nominal, interval, and duration. Okay? Kasi it will play vital roles in presenting your data. Okay? In deriving your tables. So class, example of ordinal data class is yung, ito na, tignan ng mabuti class ang inyong instrument. Baka gagamit kayo ng Likert scale. It falls under ordinal. Okay, yung mga instrument class na answerable by agree, strongly disagree, ganon. Okay, ganito yung structure nyo ng class. Okay ba? And then class, no, we have the table title and the table number. So class, baka iniisip nyo entirely, ito na yung kanilang instrument. No, this is just one of the parts of their instrument. Okay ba? Alright, and then class, this is for the part of the presentation, wherein we have the general average of 3.15 in terms of the stress level experienced by the students. So, ano ibig sabihin? Verbal interpretation 3.15, sometimes they feel stressed. Okay? So, for the class analysis, as simple as this. Ma'am, nakaka-overwhelm yung numbers, yung data. No class. So, in-interpret mo lang naman, or I mean, i-convert mo lang naman yung table into paragraph. Okay? Kaya class, no, mag-ano na kayo, mag-estimate na kayo. Titingnan yung instrument niyo, 1, 2, I think nang gagamit ng mga 15 tables dito. Paghati-hatian nyo na kanya-kanya kayo ng analysis nun. Okay? Alright. So class, no, analysis pa lang to, wala pa si interpretation. And then class, this is now the interpretation. In the interpretation part class, ayan na, we're not just simply stating the general score or the mean score, no, which is 3.5, and then meron tayong result na sometimes play stress sila. We also need to go back class with your RL and RS. Which among your RL and RS that could test, I mean, could address na there is really a potential that the student will feel stress, okay, because of the exposure of on the online learning, something like that. Ganon. So, class, no, kung ngayon pa lang feeling ninyo, grabe, Ma'am Kang, parang may malang po yung nalagay namin RL and RS sa paper. Class, wag nyo nang hintayin na makomentan ko kayo with your RL and RS. Balikan nyo na, silipin nyo na. Okay? Alright. So class, another example also of ordinal data class, no? Yung baka may mga questionnaires sa inyo class sa instrument ninyo na you're seeking for the, yung mga question na maraming choices and then you can choose as many as you can as long as it applicable to you. Ganun. It applies to you. Ayan. Example class, no? Our table number and then the title, social media platforms owned by the learners. So, anong interpretation natin dito, no? Parang among all these social media owned by the learners, pinakamarami ang may Facebook account. Charot! YouTube pala. Ayan. Muntik ko na makalimutan si YouTube. So, yung class. Ayan. So, for the analysis, as simple as this. You just have to convert the table into paragraph or into sentences. And then for the analysis class, I mean for the interpretation part, you need to go back once again with your RL and RS. Wherein, basahin natin yung interpretation class. According to the new global, okay, the average person has, okay, at least 5 social media accounts. Diba? And according to one of your RL and RS na 82% of the world's population has Facebook account. Diba? Yan. Ganyan klase mag-provide ng interpretation na you need to go back with your RL and RS to back up the findings you have with your own findings. Hanap ka ng kakampi. And then class, we're done with the ordinal na class. Now let's proceed to the nominal data. How to derive a data, presentation, analysis, and interpretation if you have nominal data. So class, no, balikan nyo ngayon yung instrument, baka meron kayong ganito. Okay, nominal data class, also known as the categorical. Ayan. Okay, so example natin din yung the sections where your respondents belong, no? So for section A, 30, section B, 35, section C, 32. So the total respondents you have now is 97. So class ha, for the analysis, ganito itsura niyan. Ganyan lang siya kasimple. Pero baka mamaya, lagi tayo may exemption sa rules class. Baka mamaya, maghanap kayo ng interpretation, maghalungkat kayo sa RL and RS ninyo. Ma'am, wala pong nagsasabi na dapat kapag second section, siya dapat yung pinakamarami yung students enrolled. Class, no? Grabe naman. There are some things na hindi naman kailangan ng interpretation. No? Huwag nyo laging na-questionin ninyo. The moment na may table, kailangan may interpretation. Yun yung pagkakaintindi ko sa discussion ni Ma'am Kang. No! Case-to-case basis yan. Baka mamaya, wala naman talagang interpretation yung table. Wala naman talagang RL and RS that could support that. Bakit mo lalagyan? Bakit mo hahanapan? Example is this one. Sige nga, ipapasa ko na at this very moment yung estudyanteng makakapagbigay ng RL and RS na dapat kapag second section ay siya may pinakamaraming enrolled students. Diba? Wala naman. So there's no need for the interpretation. Klaro ba? Klaro. Next class. Pakikita ko lang class other version to have nominal, to present your nominal data. This is my favorite kasi. Example class, no, on the demographic profile of your respondents, no. Halimbawa, 1.1, the age group, 1.2 sex, 1.3 years of service. Ito, pwede nyo siyang gawa na ng ganito na in just one table, nandun na lahat. So kapag nagbigay ka ngayon ng interpretation, ganun na lang din, mabilis lang. And even the analysis. Hindi mo na kailangan paghiwa-hiwalayin pa. Ayan. So, yan ha. Binibigyan ko na kayo class ng idea on how to present your data. Okay, this is one of my technique ng mga tamad. Yan. Hindi naman sa tamad, parang lagi ko nga sinasabi din sa sarili ko na you don't have to work really hard, no? Sometimes you need to work smart. Yun. Palusot lang yun, class. Okay, next naman, class. How about if your data are into interval and ratio? Okay, class, no? Sa interval and ratio, class, this time, we are seeking now for the connection of your IB and your DB. Okay ba? Dalawang data na yung pinag-uusapan natin dito. Your data intended for your IB and the data intended naman for your DB. Okay, so, paano yan? Parang ang hirap intindihin. So, let's have an example here. So, class, your IB here, okay, the hours of exposure on your school-related stuff or matters. Sige nga, class, based on this data, sige nga, anong oras pinaka-exposed yung mga estudyante? Ewan ko na lang pag hindi niyo pa maintindihan na through this table. Sige nga, majority of the students, ilang oras ang exposed sila on their school-related matters? Yes, Lauren?
7 to 9 hours.
Yes, imagine, no? Classes, ang school-related matters to. Hindi pa pinag-uusapan yung leisure time, yung tambayin muna sa Facebook or mag-ML or kahit anumang ganap sa buhay, no? School-related matters pa lang to. 7 to 9 hours. Okay? So, let's provide analysis for that. Simple as this. Okay? And then for the interpretation, again, go back with your RL and RS that could support, okay, the findings of your analysis. Plus, no, sabi ko sa inyo, connected dito sa interval and ratio, yung magiging, what do you call this, your IB and your DB. So this time around, class, ito naman, hours of sleep. Okay? Sige nga, based on this data, class, imagine nyo nga, imagine tuloy, identify, okay, sa majority of the respondents here, anong oras ang meron lang silang tulog? Ayan. Yes, Andrea.
6 to 7 hours po.
6 to 7 hours. Healthy pa, no? Kasi ang ideal is 8 hours. Ayun. Pero alarming na yung part ng sa 4 to 5 hours, no? Kasi siya na yung pangalawa. Ano kayang ginagawa ng mga bata na to? Bakit ganitong oras na lang yung tulog nila? Okay? Ang sarap aralin ng study na magiging findings nito, class. So, okay, provide analysis on the table and then provide interpretation. Ma'am, talaga ganito? Yes. Okay, ganun. Kaya akala nila, no, parang paulit-ulit yung sa chapter 3. Actually, kaya siya paulit-ulit kasi ang daming tables. Kaya, Leader Lauren, kung maalala mo yung sinabi ko sa inyo last time na, sure ba kayo dito with your sub-variables kasi marami. Kasi upon writing the chapter 3, bugbog sarado kayo doon for sure. Okay? And then class, eto na. So kanina, no, simple lang yung class. Ano lang yun, descriptive pa lang yung dating ng tables kanina. Now class, presentation analysis and interpretation naman tayo, showing relationship or effect. Okay, dito na class, ginagamitan ng kapangyarihan ng mga statistician. Okay? At first glance class, yung mga pinakita kong tables sa inyo, napakadaling intindihin. Diba? Pero class, pag ganitong tables na pinag-uusapan natin, ang lakas naka-nosebleed nito. Ayan. But it is necessary, class, no, if you're seeking for the relationship, the effect, impact, or influence. Kasi kailangan talaga ng tables showing naman the statistical part of your paper. Okay? Yan, huwag niyo akong kakausapin sa part na to kasi iniiwan ko to lagi sa kaibigan kong statistician. Ikaw bahala magbigay ng analysis yan. Ipaintindi mo sa akin kung tungkol saan tong table na to for me to have my interpretation. Okay? And then, class, no, table 5.5 5.1 dito sa I condition. 5.2 sa ano ba yan eh. Hindi ko alam para saan to. Patawarin nyo ako STEM 1. And then, provide analysis. So, dito naman babawi, class, no? Ito na lang lagi ang tinitignan ko ngayon sa paper. Okay, yes, I can say that I don't understand really fully kasi babalikan ko talaga yung lecture ko para lang maintindihan yung table na yun. Okay? So, para maiwasan kung bumalik sa lecture ko, babasahin ko na lang si analysis. What do you mean by this table? Okay? And then, to simplify it more, okay, patingin naman ng interpretation. Ayan, na-expect nyo na class na medyo mahaba-haba yung part ng analysis kapag ganitong table na pinag-uusapan natin. Yan. So, yun lang pala yung ibig sabihin nun. Okay, wherein stress not only causes new condition but worsens existing conditions and on and the like. The theory class provided on our Google Classroom example on how to write fully the chapter 3. Ito naman class, on how to present, analyze, and interpret data if they are in a form of qualitative. Okay ba? So, wala na tayong numerical data or value na pinag-uusapan dito, class. Ang pinag-uusapan na natin dito, how to derive tables if, okay, you have questions on your instrument na open-ended or nag-conduct kayo ng interview. Ano ang magiging structure ng tables? Class, use the thematic approach. This is the ideal way for you to derive your tables, okay, if you're dealing with non-numerical data. Last one, we say thematic approach. Okay, it organizes your data by providing themes. Okay, no, syempre, thematic approach nga. So, class, no, we have stages or the process on how to have your thematic approach. At walang shortcut dito, class. If you have 175 respondents, okay, for you to get familiarized with their answers, you need to read them. Akala ninyo masaya mag-qualitative data, ay study, research design, sinong nagsabi? Masakit kaya sa ulo yung qualitative data. Imagine, magta-transcribe ka ng sagot, ita-type mo ulit, i-encode mo yung mga sagot nila kasi baka mamaya, no, printed o hard copy yung ginamit na instrument. Good thing may Google Forms tayo, copy-paste na lang, no? Pero class, babasahin ulit yun, babalikan ninyo. Okay? For you to generate the thematic approach or the themes. And then class, once you get familiarized na, no, with their answers, ang gagawin nyo ngayon is i-encode nyo yun initially. What do you call this? Ika-categorize nyo sila. Example, ang question is, what is your stand regarding the limited face-to-face classes? Okay? So, kung mayroon kayo 175 respondents, no, hanapin nyo yung mayroong magkakaparehong sagot. Yung agree, disagree, neutral, tsaka no reaction at all. Parang mga ganun. Ika-categorize nyo yung mga sagot nila. Okay? And then class, once you categorize their answer, so it's about time to have the title of your teams. Okay? Ganun lang naman siya kasimple. So, ma'am, kasimple, matrabaho class, pero madali lang naman siya. Let's have an example, baka mamaya. Ang hirap niyang imagine kasi walang example. No, class, no? So, this is our table number, and this is our table title. Okay? So, class, na yung example natin kanina, lahat ng nakikita ng bullets dito, class, yan, okay? Lahat yan ay responses from your respondents. Okay? So, class, ang ginawa natin, kinategorize natin yung mga sagot nila according to themes. Okay ba? Ma'am, grabe, yes. Class, hindi pa yan yung entirely na sagot ng respondents ninyo, ha? Finilter out nyo lang para kung ano yung ilalagay nyo. Kasi ba naman, baka ang dami kailangan i-print out sa paper ninyo kung lahat ng sagot sa interview ay ilalagay doon. No? You just have to establish the themes or yung gist na saan nagkakasundo-sundo yung mga sagot ng respondents ninyo. Ma'am, grabe, nakakapagod. Ma'am, pwede po bang magtanggal na lang kami sa part sa questionnaire namin ng open-ended? Sino ba naman kasing naglagay ng open-ended dito, di ba? Nagkasisisihan pa kayo. Okay, class, no? The point here is, don't just simply add question kasi feeling ninyo ang gandang itanong, no? I-consider nyo din kasi yung idea na magre-reflect yan sa chapter 3 ninyo. Okay ba? Opo, ma'am, at pinagsisisihan na po namin ang lahat ng ito. Okay? So, class, no? Ito yung itsura, class, kapag marami-rami kang mga respondents. Pero what if, class, kung yung respondents mo ay experts lang, hihingi ka lang parang, you have really your respondents, pero you'll be needing the help of experts to add additional information about your study. No? Ganito yung itsura niya, class. Stop sharing muna ako. May papakita lang ako, class, in case na yung iba sa inyo ay gustong maglagay ng ganito. Okay? In case lang, class, na gusto nyo ng isa pang way on how to derive thematic approach. So, ito siya, class. Okay? So, sabi ko naman sa inyo, when I was in college, mixed method kasi yung ginamit namin, quanti and quali. Wherein, meron kaming certain respondents, kaya lang content analysis siya. Ang respondent namin yung collected articles online, no? And then, we have also seek for the help of the historians to back up our findings. So, class, no, we have three historians here. So, haba ng discussion namin, ng interview namin sa kanila. So, pinili lang namin yung karapat-dapat for us to accomplish the thematic approach. So, class, on this note, yung team namin sa kanila upon interviewing them is the what is the media before and now. So, ayun yung chika ni Mr. Xiao Chua, tsaka ni an historian from the Bantayog ng mga bayani, and then sa Tour Ocampo. And then, class, no, we have another team here about the alternative media. And we have another separate team here. Marami to eh. Marami pero hindi ko na makita. Ayan. Ito yung buong thesis namin, class, when I was in college. So, 130 pages lang naman siya. Ayan. So, we have a separate team here, minimal teachings of martial law in schools. So, ano yung mga responses dito ng aming experts or the historians. And the role of journalists in reporting historical matters. Diba? Ayun. Share ko lang naman, class. So, there are so many ways kasi to have your tables, class. Dalawa examples pa lang yung pinakita ko sa inyo. Baka may encounter kayo online na gusto nyong mag-explore pa. Pwede rin naman. Diba? So, that's how you deal with data, class kapag qualitative yung meron kayo. Okay? Alright. So, we're done. We're done with the chapter 3. And then, class, diretso tayo with the chapter 4, which is so easy lang naman, class. Ayoko na kasing sirain yung momentum. No, babalikan pa kasi natin sa chapter 3 pag nag-discuss tayo ng chapter 4, which is chapter 4 kasi napakabilis lang talaga. Okay? Alright. So, that's for the chapter 4. Summary of findings, conclusion, recommendation lang pinag-uusapan doon. Okay? So, ito siya. Okay, class, remember this, In writing the chapter 3, it always depends on what kind of instrument you have. Okay? Nakabase sa instrument kung papaano, kung ilan yung numbers of tables na meron kayo. Okay? Sa chapter 4 naman, anak, ganun din. Okay? Meron tayong kailangan i-consider upon writing your chapter 4. And also, class, on the chapter 3, you need to go back with your RL and RS for you to write the interpretation. Nagkakaintindihan. So, class, sa findings naman ng anak, okay, sa chapter 4 rather, okay, ituturo ko naman sa inyo the appropriate ways on how to write a summary of findings, conclusions, and recommendations. Kasi mga anak, issue ko to palagi. Kapag tinanong ko yung estudyante, sige nga, how are you going to differ findings from conclusion? Ma'am, di ba parang parehas lang? No, they are not. Lalong-lalo na sa structure, magkaiba sila. At yung class ang i-disclose natin today. Okay? So, class, when we say chapter 4 class, ito yung kailangan nyo ngayong balikan. Ma'am, grabe, seryoso. Yes, lahat class ng ginawa ninyo sa chapter 1 and then sa chapter 2, babalikan nyo kay chapter 4. And even on the chapter 3 as well. So class, so number 1, you'll be needing to revisit your SOP plus your hypothesis. And then you need to summarize your chapter 3. And then, kailangan natin ng closure. Plus, you're conducting a research kasi may nakita kayong problem. So, kailangan yung tapusin yung study niyo by deriving solution. Kailangan ng closure. Okay? Alright. So, class, let's deal with the summary of findings. On the summary of findings, class, number 1, you need to reiterate your research method, the sample size, research locale, and the statistical treatment. And then you also need to revisit your SOP, specifically the main problem and the sub-problems. And then lastly, you need to identify if your null hypothesis is subject for rejection or not. Okay, let's have an example here, class. Alright, step 1, identify the research method being used on this example. Identify the research method on this sample. Sige naman, pagod na kami magbasa. Tignan nyo lang muna. Yes, Adrian?
Ano po, yung research method po nila is yung descriptive survey po.
Yes, very good. Simple as that. So class, now how about the research locale? Class, when we say research locale, it is where your respondents came from. Kung saan kayo kumuha ng participants or respondents or kung saan kinandak yung study. So now, identify the research locale of this study. Yes, Elaine?
Ano po, ma'am? Students in one of the public schools in Kalumpit, Bulacan po.
Very good. Next, si Joel, nakita ko siya. Joel, what's the sample size or the population of the sample paragraph? The sample size or the population?
193.
Yes. Okay. How about the statistical tool used, okay, for their data? Anong ginamit? Statistical tool or treatment? Ma'am, sandali, nagbabasa kami yan. Read that one ba ito, ma'am, kang pabilisan magbasa? Sana ganun din kabilis yung nagre-record ng recitation, no? Na-pressure ba? Yung stat. So, isa sa mga ginamit is the McCall-Krabs test. Ma'am, kasi ang hirap bigkasin. Parang tongue twister ba siya? Okay, thank you so much for that. STEM 1. So, next class is this one. You need to revisit your SOP Wala kayong choice, anak, yun kasi summary of findings, kailangan sagutin yung statement of the problem ninyo. Okay. Makaka-relate ulit dito yung group nila Lauren plus yung group din nila Hershey kasi dalawa yung set of respondents nyo, di ba? Kaya medyo mahaba-haba si SOP. Yes, na kailangan bigyan nyo ng sagot. So class, on this note, the sub-problem 1.1, which is part of the problem 1, seeking for the gender, and then for the age, and then for the 2.1, ano na to we're dealing na with the independent variable na to Okay, yung social media owned, okay, by your respondents. And then 2.2, number of hours they spend upon, okay, using their social media accounts. And then the number of their purpose upon utilizing it. And then class for the 3.1 is for the dependent variable, okay, about their reading habits, something like that. And then class for the problem number 4, ito na class, yung babalikan nyo naman si hypothesis you have on your chapter 1 to determine if si null hypothesis ba ay rejected or hindi. That is for the summary of the findings. So class, how about the conclusion? So class, no, this is the number 1 rule. You cannot conclude without any findings. This is one of the differences of being a researcher and a chismosa lang naman. Okay? Kasi class, if you're a researcher, hindi ka maniniwala sa sabi-sabi without determining or checking first the findings. Class, sa atin na natin itigil yung fake news sa generation ninyo. Huwag masyadong maapektuhan or ma-move maniwala sa mga nakikita lang. Always be skeptical. Bakit merong ganito? Huwag masyadong magpaniwala, ha? Okay, again, class, do not conclude without any findings. Class, no? In writing the conclusion, class, yes, just like the summary of findings, i-restate ninyo or babalikan ninyo ulit si statement of the problem, but in a synthesized manner. Okay, in a very shortcut way, concise way. And then class will be also disclosing the potential contribution of your study, okay, in the body of knowledge by avoiding, okay, too much data or figures or even numbers. Because class, sa conclusion part, kailangan kahit non-researchers ka, kaya mong maintindihan yung naging result ng study. So class, meron ganitong argument If you really understand the lesson, if you really understand the findings of your study, therefore, it's so easy for you to explain it in a simple manner. Diba? Para kayong nagre-report dito, class. Kung talagang naiintindihan mo yung dinidiscuss mo, kailangan mo siyang maipaliwanag sa madaling paraan. That's the essence of the conclusion. Okay? Kaya wag na wag mo sasabihin sa akin na, ma'am, parehas lang naman si findings sa conclusion. No. Sa structure pa lang, anak, magkaiba na sila. Let's have the example here. So, class, no? Itong conclusion na to, class, based to on the findings of the study. You revisited your statement of the problem. That is the number 1 rule. Pero this time, class, we avoided to input so baka nga wala kayo makikitang figures or numbers dyan Kasi hindi na natin siya kailangan. Okay ba? Iko-conclude ka na dito na bakit ganun yung naging result of the findings. Okay? Wala na kayong makikitang mga highfalutin words, technical words in class. Kaya ako class, kapag bigyan ko lang kayo ng idea paano ako magsulat ng conclusion, I'll make sure na meron akong 5 readers. Expert, okay, and then yung matatanda pero hindi ganun kataas yung educational attainment nila. And then bata, and then yung ka-age level ko. Yun, kasi gusto kong makita kung naiintindihan ba nila yung naging conclusion ng study ko. Kung sa level ba nila, kaya nilang maunawaan, mag-grasp kung ano yung naging findings of my study. That's one of my techniques. Okay, in writing the conclusion. Next class, the recommendation. So class, no, if sa summary of if the chapter 3 depends on what instrument you have, okay, plus with the related literature and studies you have, and then class for the summary of findings, babalikan si SOP, si research method, sample size, research locale, and even your hypothesis. And doon naman sa conclusion ninyo, babalikan si SOP, and then i-converge in a very, sasagutin nyo in a very concise way based on the findings of the study. Haba, no? Sa recommendations naman, class, babalikan nyo lang is your significance of the study. So based on the, okay, on your conclusion, on your summary of findings, how are you going to recommend the result, okay, with your beneficiaries? So class, no, let's have an example here. Isa sa mga enlisted, enumerated on their results, the school administrators, parents, plus the children here, and then the lawmakers, and then we're done with the discussion of the chapter 4.